Hello, and welcome aboard the USS Voyager. My name is Bracken, and I'm here to acquaint you with your ship and your role as the counterintelligence officer, or officers, aboard this ship. Counterintelligence is a fancy word that essentially means that your job is to stop enemy spies from passing information or gaining access to our ship or the ship's systems. You will have the ability to handle our ship's stealth function as well. It is very important that you pay close attention to what I teach you in this training so that none of our enemies are able to gain an advantage over us. Voyager has about 2,100 crew members aboard, and those 2,100 lives need to be protected. You do that from your station on the command deck, or bridge as we call it. The bridge is located on deck 12, in the very core of the ship. Your job is vital to the success of your mission, and I want to train you to be the very best. As I go through this training, please follow along with the instructions I give you. If there are two of you, each of you have your own computer. Follow along with everything that I say to follow along with, whether it's at your computer or not. You both need to learn both stations. If you're alone, you definitely need to learn both stations, but if there are two of you, you may need to learn the other station just in case the worst should happen and your partner is incapacitated. It is very important that you listen to what I'm teaching you so that when the time comes, you can accomplish your tasks without my help. So as I ask you to click, type, or do, follow along exactly so that you can see these important effects as we go through your training. And if you ever start to fall behind, you can pause this training at any time so that you can catch up to what I'm talking about. As we move through, there will be several times that I ask you to type in information. If you need extra time to type anything in, please pause this training so that you do not get lost as I move ahead. I'm going to repeat that one more time so you understand how important it is. If you need extra time to type anything in when you're told to type, immediately pause your training so that you don't get lost when I move on. When you're finished typing, you can then press play so that your training resumes. A couple more things I want to cover before we get started. A field is a box where you can type information in. You may already have known that, but it is important that you understand what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a field. Anytime I'm talking about a field, I am talking about the blank space where you can type in a box on your screen. Also, if at any time you need help during this training, or you feel undeniably confused and cannot figure out what's going on by yourself, you should pause your training and then raise your hand, and one of our staff members will come to assist you. Do not forget to pause before you raise your hand. Now that we've got those basics out of the way, the very first thing we need to do is log into your station to gain access. In order to do that, we need to go to the bottom right corner of your screen and enter your name where it says Officer Login, and type your name into the empty field there. If there are two of you, log in to your respective computers. If it's just one of you, log in to both. This is the last time I'll mention this, but if you need extra time to type, please pause your training and enter your name, and restart when you're done. Now that your name is typed in, simply click the Login button directly below the field. This will give you access to the station. Before we do anything else, let's take a look at the widgets across the top center of your screen. If there are two of you, both of you can do this on your respective computers at the same time. If it's just one of you, pick which computer you want to start with. These widgets were designed to make yours and everyone else's job easier. The very first widget looks like a pink square with a pencil. If you hover over it, the words Long Range Message Composer appear, telling you what the widget is. This widget will allow us to craft and send a long-range message. Let's go ahead and do that now. Click on the Long Range Message Composer widget if you haven't already. A box will appear. At the top, you'll notice that once again we have the name of the widget, Long Range Message Composer. And then we have an empty to field and an empty body field. Long-range messages are similar to email. Because Voyager is often sent off into the vast darkness of space, she needed a way for her crew to transmit messages to Terran Space Command and also their families. It can get quite lonely out in the middle of space. This widget is available on every computer in the ship, and allows any crew member to send any messages to anyone as long as they have the right address. We're going to send a long-range message to Terran Space Command, so go ahead and type that into the to field. Then, in the body of the message, type in "This is a test." Don't worry too much about spelling because the computer can fix that automatically after the message is sent in most cases. Now that we have our message typed, all we need to do is click Q for sending, which is right below the field you typed "This is a test" into. Once you've clicked that, your message is going to the review stage and will be sent if it's approved. The counterintelligence officer or officers review all outgoing communications to ensure that no sensitive information is being sent. The next widget is the calculator widget. It's right next to the long-range message composer. Go ahead and click on that to pull that up. If you ever need a calculator to quickly perform any math function, you can pull this calculator up. Go ahead and click the close button to exit now. Next to the calculator is your objectives widget. Go ahead and click on it. This will allow you to see your mission objectives as you progress throughout your mission. You'll notice there is nothing in there right now. That's because we are in training. You can check this, however, during your mission. Go ahead and click the close button to exit now. Next is the officer's log. The officer's log is a great place to take notes of happenings in your mission or keep a journal of things that have happened or that you've been told so that you can remember them in critical situations. One of my heroes, Quincy Lewis, taught me at an early age that if you don't write it down, you won't remember it when you need it. Not only is that true on your mission today, but is a great take-home lesson. Writing things down activates multiple centers of your brain and causes the memory to be recalled more effectively than when it's just heard. Use this to keep track of the various aspects of your mission. To enter something into the log, simply click the Start Log button. This will open a field on the right side of the window. If you click in the empty field, you can now type. Because we're in training, the log will be reset, so we're not going to type anything too exciting here. Just type in "We are in training" and then click Save. Once you click Save, you'll notice how the log appears on the left-hand side. As you add entries, you'll be able to go back through and see any entry you've created. Use this throughout your mission to guarantee your success. You may now close that window. The next widget is the messaging widget. This allows you to instantly message anyone on the bridge and occasionally people on other decks depending on what you're doing at your station. For now, I just want to teach you how to use this. It is important to note that this isn't a toy. This is critical for mission success. It's for critical mission information only. Its purpose is to allow nonverbal communication to other crew members so that it stays relatively quiet on the bridge. This will allow the captain to hear everything that's going on, instead of the bridge becoming littered with side conversations that are distracting and make it difficult to hear things. It will also allow you to work quickly and efficiently on what you are doing without having to get up and run between stations. Let's send a message right now to the command monitor station. To do this, click New Message. Once you've done this, find Command Monitor in the list. Once you've found it, click on it, and you'll notice on the right-hand side where it says Messages, it now says Conversation with Command Monitor. Now all you have to do is type a message in the empty field next to where it says Send Message. The message we'll type right now is going to once again say, "This is a test." Once you have that typed in, go ahead and hit the Send Message button. When you do, you will see that it says your station name and then your message. Make sure you check back after you've sent a message to see if you've received a response. If and when they respond, it will show their station name and the message. You may now close out of this screen by clicking the Close button. The next widget is the Training widget. If ever in the middle of your mission you feel like you don't remember how to do something, clicking on that widget will help you understand what's going on a specific screen. It will give you a refresher course on how the various aspects of that screen work. You may close out of this, if you've clicked it, by selecting the X in the top left corner. The last widget is the logout widget. You should only log out of your station if you feel like the bridge is going to be taken over and don't want the enemy to have access to your computer. Now that we've explored the widgets, let's take a look at the technology you control at the counterintelligence stations themselves. We'll start with the Counterintelligence Alpha station. If you move your mouse to the left side of the screen where there are several buttons, you'll notice that when you hover over these buttons, words appear next to them. This tells you which screens you have access to. We want to click on the one called Communications Review for now. Go ahead and click that button. Once you click it, your screen should change and you should see the words Message Queue in the top leftish corner of the screen. Beneath that, you will see any and all messages that are being sent from other members of the crew, including the one that you just sent while exploring the widgets. While we want to respect the privacy of all of our crew members on this vessel, we also want to protect this vessel and all projects relating to Terran Space Command that are top secret and classified. No details about the Voyager project are to be sent to family members or anyone outside of the program. This screen will allow you to review any messages that are being sent out to make sure that no details of the program are being shared. This would also allow you to prevent a spy or agent working for another organization that somehow got aboard our ship from sending sensitive material out, such as our current location, specs on our weapons or shielding systems, current heading, etc. Let's take a look at the message sent from you. It should say from Counterintelligence Alpha. Click on that message. Once you click on it, you'll note that the message you sent earlier is here. It says, "To Terran Space Command, this is a test." Since you sent this message, you know this one can be sent to its location. This message is good to go, but before we click the Approve Message button, we want to make sure to encrypt the message before it gets sent out. Encryption does a couple of things for us. First, it protects the message so that if there was a ship nearby working for an enemy force, they wouldn't have easy access to our messages as they're sent. They would have to spend some time decrypting the message, and that can be the difference between success or failure of any mission. The second thing that this does is it protects you from being arrested and sent to federal prison for the rest of your life if classified details about our mission, the ship, or the crew had been sent to Terran Space Command but was intercepted by that enemy force. We use what's called 3DES encryption for our messages, which means it would likely take months for someone to decrypt anything sent. This should allow any sensitive information to be protected, and if there were any leaks to be discovered, we could analyze and correct them if someone was trying to intercept our messages. Encrypting is very important. While this message doesn't contain any aggressive or sensitive material, let's go ahead and click the Encrypt Message button anyway. This will change the look of the message to essential gibberish, and if someone were trying to get data from us, as I mentioned previously, it would take, most likely, months of time for them to get into the information. Now that it's encrypted, you can approve the message and it will be sent to its destination. Now let's take a look at the Communications Decryption screen. Move your mouse to the left side of the screen and select the Communications Decryption button. This screen contains all of our current codes and codices that we use to decrypt incoming communications. Sometimes we receive messages that don't come through your computer. They'll come through the printer in the back, beneath the table. These messages are often coded, and we need a way to decode them. You can use these codices here to find a match and decode those messages. If you click the Print button, you'll also be able to print out a set of these codes so that somebody could help you decrypt and decode a message that came through in this fashion. We usually only send emergency information through the printer system, so if you get something through there, it should be decoded ASAP. The person that should decode it is our communications officer. They sit in the front right of the bridge. If they are busy though, you should assist them in this task as you have access to the codes as well. It is important to note that these codes are top secret classified and that nobody should gain access to them. As soon as you're done using a code, you should shred it so that nobody could put it back together, and make sure that it is discarded in a proper bin. The last thing on this first station that you need to know is the silent running control. Let's select that screen now by clicking on the button on the left-hand side that says Silent Running Control. Because our ship is huge, 25 decks and around 2,100 people, it's impossible for our ship, referred to as a jump carrier, to contain an effective stealth generator. Sensors are able to detect things in different ways, but one of the most common ways is to scan for power signatures being emitted or given off by systems in use aboard a ship. In order to prevent that, our ship can be placed in silent running mode, which drastically decreases the power given off by systems in use aboard our ship. This makes it more difficult for ships using standard scans to locate us. However, the drastic change in power is about 50% of max power. Our reactor will not spit out as much energy, and there will be less available power for the other systems in the ship. That means that the drawback here is that our ship cannot operate at full efficiency with the silent running system active. So this system is only good for short bursts when we're trying to stay hidden for some reason. Something else to keep in mind is that some systems can make the silent running mode absolutely useless. Go ahead and activate silent running by clicking the button in the middle of the screen that says Activate Silent Running. Once you do that, you'll see a list of systems show up on your screen, most of what should be in what we call the blue. Being in the blue means that a system is not giving off detectable power. However, systems in the yellow or red give off too much power and could cause our vessel to be detected, even in silent running. If you see a system in the yellow or red, or even leaking just barely outside of the blue, you should inform the executive or first officer immediately that the system is giving off too much power. The way to fix this issue is to either A, take power out of that system, or B, deactivate the system that's giving off that power. That choice will be up to the first officer. But right now, since we are in training, it's okay that some of these systems are giving off excess power. To deactivate this system, simply click the Deactivate Silent Running Control button. Now let's switch gears and take a look at the Counterintelligence Beta Station. If you haven't already logged in here for some reason, please do so now. This will give you access to both the signal jammer and the computer core. Let's first take a look at the computer core screen by selecting it from the left side menu. This is very important because it controls access permissions for everyone in the ship and what they are allowed to control via the computer system. Cyber terrorism and cyber attacks are very effective and must be prevented at all costs. Let's take a look at the several functions and jobs you are assigned to on this screen. The very first thing we're going to do is take a look at what are called users. Users are people that have specific permissions to access specific information based on their access levels. For instance, the captain and executive officer, if you click in level 1 on the access levels pane, have the highest clearance in the ship. You'll notice a few other people in here. These people are given the highest level of clearance. Nobody besides these people should have access to level 1 unless the captain orders you to create it for someone. You'll also notice at the top of your current screen that there is a button that says Files. Some files are essentially computer programs, have access to different aspects of the computer core as well. You'll be able to see those by clicking the Files button. You'll notice a file in there called kernel1024.dll in the level 1 grouping. You'll also notice other files which all seem to be named file followed by a number. Kernel1024.dll doesn't seem to fit here. It actually is supposed to be here, but right now we're going to pretend that it shouldn't be here. It does look different. We want to make sure that it's safe. To verify that it should be there, all you need to do is click kernel1024.dll and choose the Restore File option. It will verify the file is supposed to be there, and if it had any sort of corruption or virus inside of it, this would remove that and restore the file to its proper function. If the file disappears, that means the restoration process recognized the file as corrupted beyond repair, or had a virus inside of it, and kicks it from the system. Now let's go back to the Users tab. Every so often, a user that shouldn't be in the system somehow gets in. This would mean that someone had hacked into the system. In order to locate a hacker, usually you would have to look through every access level and see what didn't belong. Usually it's better safe than sorry to kick people that look suspicious and apologize later and re-add them than it is to leave a hacker in the system. A hacker is an unauthorized user that has access to a portion of the system they shouldn't. Instead of making you look for it right now in training, I'm going to give you a freebie. Our test hacker is located on level 3 and is named Linda Belcher. This is an unauthorized user that has somehow gained access. To get rid of this user, click on Linda Belcher and choose the Remove User option. This will kick them out of the system. They will no longer have access. Hackers are very clever and may use similar names to what you see in the systems already to disguise themselves. It would be prudent then to familiarize yourself with the users in the ship. Every so often you'll get a request to create a user. It may be from the damage control team, it may be from the operations team, and it may come from the captain. Regardless of who asks for you to create it, unless it's the captain, there are a couple of steps that you're going to need to take. First, you need to alert the executive or first officer that you are creating a user, tell them who asked you to create the user, and make sure it's okay to add this user. Number 2, if the first officer grants permission, then you need to create the user. To create a user, you simply click the Add User button. This will bring up a prompt asking you to give them a username, a password, and an access level. Generally, whoever is asking you to add a user will have this information ready for you. For this example, click Add User. We're going to assign this username as Bob. We'll make the password Teddy, T-E-D-D-Y, and we'll assign them Level 2 access. It is important that you remember to remove this user once their assignment is complete. In the case of a damage control officer requesting you to create user access for someone, they only need a few minutes to complete their task. We don't want to give them carte blanche access, so we want to get rid of them after their process is done. We're going to go ahead and remove Bob from the level 2 access users. The next thing you need to learn about on this screen is how to restart a terminal. A terminal is an access port located somewhere inside of the ship. These access terminals send the information, for instance, from the bridge to the engines to tell the engines to spool up and begin to move the ship. It is important that these terminals stay functional. Because of the high level of traffic moving through all of these terminals, sometimes terminals will automatically slow traffic so that they can handle the traffic that's moving through. This can start to bog down traffic in other terminals because requests are routed to them, and it eventually drags the system to complete failure. It is your job to monitor these terminals and ensure that network traffic and information is being routed through the ship properly. There are 3 settings for the terminals. Greens means everything is honky-dory and moving properly. Yellow means that the terminal is beginning to slow traffic through its location because it's being overloaded with information. And red means that the terminal is offline. You should be seeing some examples of that on the right-hand pane labeled Terminal Listing. Sometimes, because we're in training, all the terminals will remain green. So if you can't find any non-green terminals, that's okay. You at least understand what each color means. If you can find a discolored terminal, that's great, but if not, pick a random terminal. I'm going to teach you how to reset a terminal. Remember the old adage, have you tried turning it off and on again? That's what we're going to do to keep these things working properly. Click Restart Terminal on the terminal you selected to initialize this process. The terminal will show yellow as it resets and then turn green again to indicate that it is now functioning properly. The more terminals that shut off or aren't accepting traffic means the ship is going to be more sluggish in responding to commands, especially from the bridge, and it could be the result of a virus. If terminals are starting to shut down like crazy, that would be a good time to use the Scan for Viruses button in the bottom left of the screen. Go ahead and click that now. You should see that it scans all of your files and alerts you to any present viruses. All you need to do from here is let the virus blocker do its thing by clicking Remove Virus, and that's all you need to know about the computer core. Next, let's take a look at the Signal Jammer. Go to the left side of your screen and select Signal Jammer. The Signal Jammer allows us to block certain signals in an area. There are three types of signals that the jammer is able to block, or dampen, and they are the colored signal types above the signal matrix. We can block certain types of sensor scans, target locking abilities of other ships, and certain communication signals from leaving an area. In order to do this, all you need to do is click the Activate button beneath the signal matrix. Go ahead and do that now. You'll notice that once we activate the Signal Jammer, the different colors representing the different types of signals are dancing on the screen. This indicates an active signal of that type. In order to block signals, you have to move the frequency slider and adjust how much power you're giving to the jammer. If you power up the Signal Jammer all the way to max power, via the slider on the right-hand side of the screen, you will be able to overpower all signals. This requires a significant amount of power in the system, but will allow you to block signals with ease. Let's focus on scrubbing and jamming the green communication signals as though we're trying to prevent an enemy ship from communicating with anyone outside of the area we're in. As you move the frequency slider along underneath the green signals, if you have enough power, you'll notice that the arcs will decrease. If they're not decreasing, go ahead and increase the power on the right-hand side. Keeping these signals at a low level will prevent or scramble their signal, effectively blocking communications. As mentioned earlier, you can do the same thing with the other two signal types as well. When the vessel is no longer trying to send a signal, that entire matrix would pretty much flatline, showing almost no activity in the area except for background noise. Using the Signal Jammer to prevent target locks on the ship would be a great use of the system in a battle situation, and jamming sensors can also make it difficult to locate our vessel or get a transporter lock. Very lastly, either computer has the library information screen. You can see many entries on many different topics. These topics also have categories that you are welcome to research if you wish and have time. Remember that this should never take over your primary responsibilities. This is a great place to gather information about known alien races, technology, or governmental structure. This concludes your training. I hope you understand how important your responsibilities on this ship are. You are part of a team in charge of the roughly 2,100 lives on your ship. If there is anything you don't understand, make sure you get clarification on it now. You may now raise your hand, and a staff member will come and grab your training equipment from you. Good luck.